It's a great honor and a privilege to introduce Dr. Micky Cohen. We're here in Johannesburg. And Micky Cohen, you're going to be 90 years young. And you were a Wits graduate.
Times two,
yeah. A specialist in urology.
I had a couple when I was in practice in Warmbarths called Renia and Wojtek Winter. They lost a child who was sent to Auschwitz. Only one child. They had one child and they lost. They didn't realize what was happening, and she stuffed polonies full of diamonds. She was a daughter, I think, of the mayor of Krakow, I think. I'm not sure about that for sure, but she was a daughter of quite a well-known person. She came to live in Warmbarths and they asked me to look after her. For a number of years I looked after her. I used to visit her every week, or if they didn't call me or did call me. One day they called me as an emergency, said, "Come quick," and I knew that this is trouble. And I get there, and to one look at her, said, "This woman is going to die. She's not going to make it." So I said, "Okay, get into my car. Let's get into my car. We'll hang a drip in the inside of the car," and we raced through to Johannesburg. I took her through, it's a 2-hour journey, and I took her through to Princess Nursing Home. Nursing, she's like this. She was already at that stage. So the surgeon was Rosenberg. I think it was Arthur Rosenberg, a neurosurgeon. He said, "Micky, don't you realize I've got enough cabbages in my cabbage patch? What are you asking me to do?" So I said, "To operate if necessary." So he assesses her, they take her to theatre, and they remove a clot the size of a tennis ball from the brain.
Wow.
So she was in coma the next day, and the next week, and the next month, and I thought, I really have done something bad. After, I think, about 2 months, she started coming round. So she came round, and she just lost her vision. She had central vision, called a homonymous hemianopia. So she gradually got better, a very sharp woman, very clever, and restored absolutely to normal. And every year, as a memory, she would send me a present, a cutlery box or a wall hanging or something like that. I bumped into him later on when I was at Casualty at the Gen, and he, at that stage, I think she'd had something else. This was years later. I think she'd passed away. They were relations of a family called Stiller in Johannesburg. I don't know who Stillers are, but I just remember that from memory I do it. Anyway, he was a roof expert. So he could repair the roofs of the people in Poland in the winter time, which were all leaking and cold. And so he had a place in the camps where he had a job, and they didn't want to get rid of him. And she was in the camps as well. They got out with their diamonds, they bought their way out. And they both got back to South Africa and came to live in Warmbarths. And I used to attend them for a number of years until this episode. And after that, they moved back to Johannesburg. I saw him once at outpatients. I never saw her again. I'm not sure what happened to her.
Did she have a number?
Yes, she had a different number, but I can't tell you the number.
Yeah. And did they speak about the experiences in Auschwitz?
Absolutely. So in the early, I think in the early part of the war, when Poland was invaded and those things were terrible there. So I just in the end bought a little house in Warmbarths, and I used to see them very often. But I'll never forget the story. I was so full of hope that she would recover. And I said, "But look, we're really taking a chance." But Rosenberg opted and took this massive clot out, left her with partial blindness, but very astute and sensible.
What made them go to Warmbarths?
I'm not sure. I think they wanted a peaceful life outside of Joburg. And it's...
and did they have any relatives in South Africa?
The Stiller family.
Besides from this, any Warmbarths? Did they have any in Warmbarths?
No, they didn't even mix in with the community in Warmbarths. We had about... No, I never saw him. About 20 families we had in my time. Mm-hmm. In my dad's time, there were about 40 families in Warmbarths. But then they died off and left. But in their time, they weren't really engaged with the community, no. Anyway, I've still got a letter that she wrote at the time when she realized what had happened, and she'd come to, and how grateful she was that she was still had a normal life.
And Micky, did you meet with any other Holocaust survivors during your career?
Yeah, I did from time to time, but that one just stands out because it was such a dramatic event. And I still remember racing on the road from Warmbarths to Johannesburg, Rosenberg coming to have a look at it, and he said, "We've got enough cabbages in our cabbage patch. We don't need another one."
Can I just ask you out of interest, how come you didn't go to a hospital in Pretoria, which would have been a bit closer?
It's a neurosurgery unit, and I just decided, because I trained in Joburg and I knew the people in Joburg. I didn't really know the Pretoria hospitals. I never worked in Pretoria, actually. I was at school there, but I'd never had done any medicine at Pretoria at that stage.
But you saved her life by taking her...
By taking an action, I think we did. Look, but that's, in a doctor's life, it's happening all the time in one other way. I've written a whole lot of cases. I've written about 20 cases or 40 cases, and I'm taking them through to Bedprote here, of outstanding sort of events in medical country practice. Country practice is totally different from a city practice, and I wasn't a specialist at that stage. So, didn't do surgery on...
So, Micky, I just want to thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
It's been such a great honor and a privilege to meet you.
Not at all.
And thank you for relating your story.
And I'm glad. I'm glad that my daughter immediately remembered when I said your name. She immediately remembered.
Well, please God, we'll meet in Israel, and at Maybe Srim in good health.
We hope.
And all the very best, and a Chanukah Sameach.
And to you also. Happy Chanukah. But Mesh and I have been friends